How's that going? Okay, this is not my best angle. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a mobile vlog. I'm currently in Lumberton, Texas, I believe. I'm on my way up from Houston up to East Texas, and I wanted to do a mobile vlog for as long as I can. I don't know, how long it'll take, but I'm about 2 hours out of my destination, and I'm going to see Lady Psylocke. We're gonna hang out for a while, then I'm headed home. Gonna unpack, do some cleaning, probably hit some Warcraft. I might stream, I don't know. But I have gained some weight. I'm probably up to 325, give or take, but I'm working on it again. The last couple of months I've been going through depression. I've been lackluster exercise, lackluster eating control. It's been crazy. I'm drawing closer and closer to my father's death anniversary, and be 2 years now going on. He passed in April, and it's crazy. Anyway, I'm listening to this guy Sam Harris. I've recently become acquainted with his work. By the way, if you're looking for a vlog to talk about gaming and all that, we'll talk about that off and on, but this is more about real life stuff, the deeper things like religion and whatnot. I'm actually really proud of myself. I've become a lot more open with this stuff, sharing it and making people aware of who I am, where I'm at, because that's what my channel's about. It's what I'm here for. So, but speaking of gaming, I am excited to what do we have going on? Forspoken, obviously. My brain just totally left me. Really exciting news is that they're coming out with a Pokemon Classics collection, which is amazing. It's gonna be great. They've even recently launched Game Boy and Game Boy Advance on Nintendo Switch Online, which is great. But they're also going to be releasing a physical collection for Nintendo Switch. I don't know what games are included, but it's going to be pretty awesome. And here's my hope. I hope that they work with Pokemon Home. At least, maybe not. That you may not be able to trade, you may not be able to battle with each other, but it would definitely be interesting to really be able to do that. So hopefully, hopefully that'll happen. And it's really cool because I would think, even with Switch cartridges, which is essentially a higher capacity modified SD card, the capacity of these cards, you could hold a lot of ROMs on these. So it's really cool. And what's amazing is that the advancement in gaming, the advancement in graphics, technology, and whatnot, is in itself, in a way, is relatable to the evolution of a personal life, because you're going from something very basic, like this, let's just say raw data, right? You're taking that raw data, putting it into a device. That device can only do so much with it, so that data evolves, and then it has to go to another device. So I don't know, it's kind of representative of humanity that we grow, and the data, our knowledge, expands with it. It's pretty crazy. Now, you got to be willing to expand, though. You got to be willing to grow, because if you keep yourself locked down in a spiritual and intellectual and mental basis, then you're not going to really experience a whole lot in life that's meaningful, anyway. And that's what I'm getting to here, is that that's what I've found with growing up as I did, and the changes I've had to go through in multiple ways. Shuffling off, to me, out-of-date concepts, shuffling off personal concepts that never really clicked with me. But I was forced into it. I had to brainwash myself. And brainwash is a bit of a harsh word, but in essence, it's what you're doing when you go through this stuff. And I'm speaking religiously, because take Christianity, right? Baptism, non-denominational, whatever it is. You keep having to go back to church, right? You keep going to church. You go to church every Sunday. You're either dragged to church as a kid, or you feel a responsibility to go to church to renew your faith continually on a continual basis. And when you do without it, the longer you go without it, the more you long for it. Now, what equates to me, and again, this is a bit harsh, but in essence, it's kind of an addiction in ways, because you're looking for meaning, you're looking for profoundness. Thankfully, this is where I count myself lucky that I have found that in myself. Now, it does take work, much like building faith and building, reliance on a deity, or strength in a deity. It takes work to build it up. But in my view, I'm here. I'm physical. I have my own thoughts. I do all this and that, and I'm not relying upon inner strength thanks to a deity or somebody I'm looking at, or somebody that's not there. And it talks about faith, and you have to have faith in that. It is there. You may not see it, but you could feel it. The problem is that that feeling is very fleeting, and it's got to be continually, held up and renewed. And for a lot of Christians I saw coming up, unless they were in church, unless they were reading the Bible, unless they were focusing on those items, and they didn't have it, you could go into crisis. And now, obviously, there are different ranges: casual believers, faith believers, and whatnot. Hey, Adabart, good to see you. Adabart, sorry. I'm recognizing Chad for now, y'all. I'm stopped on the side of the highway, but I'm going to take off here in a minute. I'm not stopping the stream. I'm still going to channel on the road, but my attention will be diverted. But what I was getting to is that, Dogma, the movie Dogma. God, I love Dogma. It's such a great movie, and it speaks on the deeper stuff with comedic stance. Kevin Smith is such a genius in that regard, in a lot of ways. Seth Grahame-Smith too. There's a lot of Seth Grahame-Smith's one of my favorites. But anyway, it touches on this, and that Salma Hayek's character talks about have faith in something, And so what I found is that I have faith in myself, and I have faith in people. I choose to put my faith, as it were, into physical objects, into things that are around me, things that I can see, that I can feel, that I can engage with, And I'm not going off some assumption that there's some great eye in the sky looking over me. So, that's where I've come. But it was not without struggle. It was not without shame, or feeling evil, or feeling detested, or shamed, looked down on, or judged. Because that's the hard part. When you are leaving something behind, such as a faith in a religion or teachings, and you open up to people about that. If you open up to the wrong people, you're judged. You're immediately dismissed. You're not one of us anymore. Get out of my sight. You're not worthy, Or on the other side, you keep having people that are of that faith or that basis continually come at you to rejoin the club. We miss you. We know that this is just, a journey for you, and you'll eventually come back to it. And it's hard for people to accept that you're not coming back. You're not some prodigal son. And they keep trying to change you back to who you were. And this is enabling in some sense, because it gets hard. It's hard on the person trying to do what they think is best. And it doesn't help. People could say kind of words. People could say, like, I'm just trying to look out for you. I'm trying to save your soul. I'm trying to make sure you don't go to hell. But here's the thing. That person's not worried about going to hell. You, from your perspective, you're worried about my soul going to hell. But that's only because of ancient texts and ancient stories. I have found within myself a meaning, a judge, a jury, and an executioner, if I ever saw fit, which is something I faced in my previous past. Suicide, because everything in my childhood had been upended and upheaval. But I have found ground again. I have rebuilt, and I was able to do so without having to rely on prayer, without having to rely on ancient teachings and everything else, And so, in a way, religious upbringing was a bit of a danger to my life, because without the continual renewal of it, with it being forced on me, or it wasn't forced on me in such a manner that I may be speaking of, but it's really more of it. I went to went to Sunday school. I was part of Royal Rangers on a basis. My parents wanted to raise me that way, but they didn't force it on me. That was introduced into my life in a positive way. The problem is, a person in my life that was watching over me that I believe cared for me. And there was another person too that, again, I won't name any names or go into all that, but the problem is that they tried to reinforce all this stuff in me with negative impact by, again, judging me and calling me and saying this and that, and science is wrong. Why are they teaching science in school? That's not how our world operates, and all this and that. And people still try to come at me about, well, you're looking at the creation, but you're not looking at the creator of the creation. And then, of course, you can go into, well, who created the creator of the creation? Because there's got to be a beginning point, because that's always been the way my brain has worked. There's always got to be a beginning point. It's not just there. There's a basis for it. Why is this there? Why is this thing here? And what always fit with me was science, was facts, stuff that can be reproduced, reviewed, redone, on a continual basis, and not just something like, well, just take our word for it. I can't do that. I've never been able to do that, and I will never be able to do that. When it comes to, the deeper things and the purpose of something being there, something happening and whatnot. And it's funny because I've even had some Christian family members come at me about, well, what about miracles? I'm like, I'm not doubting miracles happen. I mean, it's nature. Have you seen what nature is capable of? I mean, we're here. We're the universe exploring itself, That in and of itself is a miracle. The fact that we're born, the fact that our parents reproduced to produce something like me, which, by the way, they really shouldn't have done, but is a miracle in and of itself. I mean, the mathematical numbers of a genetic structure being able to combine in such a way that we're here, it is a miracle in and of itself. Now, the definition of a miracle can happen other ways, too. It's a very open universe, very big, huge universe, endless almost, although there is an end to it. But it can happen in other places, and that's just like, I believe in aliens. I believe in spiritual context of energies making contact with us that could be perceived as ghosts or, past lives or whatnot. That's a totally different subject, but it's there, and it's just amazing. But that's the thing. That's been the journey of my life so far, is that I have found meaning, and I have found depth and understanding within myself, because religion caused me to doubt myself. Like, I couldn't fully dedicate myself to myself, because the problem is that you're dedicating like a third of yourself, or if not all of yourself, to a deity, to this walk of faith in life and spreading a message and all that. And I get it. I mean, that's been the goal of my channel, is to spread a positive message for the last 13 years. At the end of every stream, at the end of every video, trying to reinforce some positivity in random people throughout the world's life, whoever may read these. And that's the legacy of my channel, I hope, where it stands. That and gaming and, insights in my own life. But it's just, life in the universe is amazing. And I believe, there's that word again. I believe that if you're dedicating your life to a deity, or several deities, or however it may be, if you're monotheistic or if you're polytheistic, however it may be, look at yourself too. Don't become codependent on a creator. I believe it's been studied in sociological studies and relationships and whatnot, that becoming codependent is not good. It's dangerous. And so depend on yourself. Count yourself. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. We all do. But, it is what it is. It's human to fail. It's human to succeed. It's human to not even try. It's human to just be lazy. It's human to be successful. It's human to whatnot. I mean, being human is such a range of concepts and ideas and strategies and dreams, inventions and whatnot. We are ourselves amazing. And the funny part about all this, and this is the genius in ways, the trap even, of some religions, is that with me talking this way, to say rely on yourself, don't rely, you don't have to fully rely on a deity, you can do it yourself. It's presented that sacrilege, or that this is like an antichrist type of talk, when it comes to Abrahamic religions like Christianity and whatnot, and it's nuts. And and when you're in that fold, when you're in that mindset, that's the curve to bring you back. It's just like, don't think that way, because if you're thinking that way, you're being wrong. That's not the way we think. In fact, you're borderline. You're talking kind of like an antichrist mentality here. Don't stray away from God. Don't do that. And it's but that's just what I've observed, and that's what I've been through. And for the last 5 or 6 years, longer, even probably early 20s, it started, and it just built. And then there was a time in my life when two very, very impactful things happened to me. And I've talked about that in previous vlogs. I won't talk about it here, but I lost somebody, and I lost something that I had wanted for a long time. And I built up in my mind, and when I wasn't successful at it, I felt that my purpose in life had gone away. And that was all I was. And that was the danger. There's more to us than we perceive. There's more to us than we allow ourselves to see. We're here. One of my deepest thoughts is that we are the universe exploring itself, building itself, understanding itself. Because we are one and the same with the universe. We are the universe. And what's even funnier is that in Christianity, if you were to say we are, again, going back to the idea of like, well, you're talking, very sacrilegious, whatnot. It's funny because if you were to present to some communities that we are God, we are one and the same, because we are God's children, thereby, if we are, and here's the thing, right? Because in Christianity, you're constantly paying for your parents' sin, or in the Bible, your father's sin. We are a legacy of sin, and to only accept God or accept Jesus is to rid yourself of that. That's your only redemption for the afterlife. When we're not here on this earth. Now, personally, I've come to the idea, and with time, grounded belief, that we are rejoining the earth, because we are literally rejoining the earth, whether we're cremated, whether we're buried, whether we're, whatever, unless we're launched out into space, which could happen. We degrade, our bodies degrade biologically, and we rejoin the earth. So we become part of it again. We become a part of the universe. And even while we're here, we're a part of this big thing. And to put personification on it, like the idea of God or any other gods, is, and it even takes away from us wanting to take care of the planet, because if we have it in our minds that planet is Earth is just a temporary homestead, then why would people want to take care of it? Why would people want to see it last forever when it's only temporary? I mean, if you have it in your brain that somebody's coming back to get us, this is only temporary, then where's the long-term motivation to make sure that it is taken care of and that it'll be around for a much longer time than you'll be around? I don't know. I mean, this is just some of the things that, over the past couple of weeks, even longer than that, for years now, that has been churning within me. It's crazy. And again, this is the deeper stuff. I've even started a playlist here on the channel called Deeper Theories and Thoughts. And it's Sam Harris. There's a bunch of other people that it's a balance and a debate of beliefs and structure and, you know, all this and that. And on the front of religion and moral and ethical, do you have to be religious to be a good human being? The answer is no. You know, we evolved to have these brains to use them, and when you think about it, I mean, we had to be tribal. Obviously, we had to take care of each other. There were different tribes of human beings, different types of there was Homo sapiens, there was Neanderthals, whatnot, all kinds. Like, I think the last count, it's up to like 50, give or take, different types of humanoids living on the earth. They eventually died out. We're continually finding evidence of them in the rocks in the ground. And but obviously Homo sapiens, inbreeding with Neanderthals and Denisovans and whatnot, we became who we are now, and we're still evolving. And to think otherwise is kind of folly, because if you think that we're not continually evolving, even today, we're still going. We're going to keep going. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, because we all started out needing to take care of each other. We didn't have, it's a base drive, take care of each other, look after each other. And you know, yeah, there are rare effects to where, you know, you have an outsider here and there, but humanity wouldn't have survived if we didn't take care of each other. And a lot of people attribute that to religion and community. It is true that community has been a part of us for thousands of years, millions of years, because we wouldn't have survived either way. But we didn't start having conceivable thoughts and sentient thoughts until later in the line. And that of course is when thoughts came about and ideas, and I haven't really followed the timeline sociologically of where religion came into play when it comes in for human communities. But it came after caring for other people. It came after for being a good creature, for being a good person, taking care of other people, compassion. So it happened way before even the thought of religion, even the thought of doing all this and that, you know. So that's my intro to this mobile vlog. I did not mean to carry on this long, but it is what it is. I'm becoming more. I'm building more of an included identity in who I am here on the channel and on Twitter. It used to be separate, to be honest, because I didn't want to include all this, but as a part of my channel. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be true to myself, you know. I've said for a long time that this channel is who I am. It's a part of my legacy, and to deny who I am, to deny that part of me, and to not include it in the whole is in and of itself sacrilege, because I'm a bit of a hypocrite in ways. But, you know, there it is. So anyway, people agree with me, people disagree with me, but that's my point of view. There are facts of the universe, there are theories of the universe, there are beliefs of our universe, of our humankind, and it just blows my mind, the depth of it all, the expansiveness of it all, and how these, you know, how belief structures throughout humanity have evolved and become more modern. Christianity is a prime example of that, the Bible especially. There have been books that have been edited out. There have been books that have been added. The Old Testament, the New Testament. The Old Testament was revitalized for the New Testament. Obviously, that's where Jesus came along. It really kind of helped curb the hardcore Old Testament teachings and punishment and whatnot. And on one note, I did want to say something about a biblical character, a historic character, I guess, because he might have existed. I mean, there had to have been some inspiration for characters in the Bible of real life people that existed at the time. That's my belief, because there's always a grain of truth, even in the most crazy fiction, you know, or nonfiction. But that's Joseph. You know, Joseph was the earthly father of Jesus of Nazarene. And he was the earthly father. And I recently read a book called Unholy Night by Seth Grahame-Smith. And stay with me here, because a lot of people think, oh, Seth Grahame-Smith, you look him up, and he's an author that takes ancient figures, ancient works, or like Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, Pride and Prejudice, and Zombies. But a book that I read of his called Unholy Night, and it talks about the three wise men being thieves, and it's a very violent book, but it's great. But he touches on something I never thought about, even in all my years of being a Christian. And it could be because it's downplayed in the Bible. But Joseph was this husband and this adopted father to a child that was of immaculate conception. Mary comes to him one day and says, I'm pregnant and it's not yours. Now, there's a point brought up in the story that back in those days, if Joseph would have disowned Mary and said, she is with child that is not my own, this stuff was very serious back in the day. She could have been stoned and killed. Now, obviously, she was being protected by something a lot bigger in the teachings. So that may not have been the case, but at the same time, he also could have dismissed Mary as covering something up, because here's a woman that has come home pregnant by not knowing the touch of her husband. So conceivably, she's making up a story that she had been with another man, that she cheated on him, But she's telling him this is the child of God, all this and that. And of course, I mean, think about it. You put it in your shoes. You've got a partner coming home saying they're pregnant that's not yours, but you've been together for a while now. On a grounded level, she was stepping out. She was stepping out on him, if you were to take it in that context. But on the other hand, this is a guy that took in somebody else's son and helped to raise them. And I can just imagine the arguments between these two. Because as somebody that has an adopted father, this is a man that helped raise me, that inspired me in a lot of ways and gave me strength and showed me certain areas that my own biological father tried to, but unfortunately didn't take because of certain circumstances, because of not being able to be around him as much as I would have liked to. But I know that there were times when I thought, this guy isn't my father. Why should I even listen to him? Why should I even do that? But my adopted father stuck with me even through those thoughts. I'm not sure I ever said that. I don't think I did, but I put my experience with all of that into Jesus of Nazarene's, that character, put that in his place, and it blows my mind how it's relatable, because that's good writing. That is good, relatable writing. But again, Joseph is a very underplayed character, and I would argue, not in every instance, because I know that there are parts of certain religions to where he is, held up in a higher regard. But I would argue, much like pretty much every other character in the Jesus story, the character would not have been who he was, or Jesus would not have turned out who he had been, or even survived, again, even with holy guidance or protection and whatnot throughout the journey of his life, without Joseph, without, in this context, a worldly father. So I just wanted to show some love to Joseph in this character, because I believe, and in my experience, he is very underrepresented, and he was a hell of a man to accept, the circumstances that he did, to take his wife's word, and finally it did prove out, in the story of things, to be true. But even I was in a Christian relationship once, and it's funny because in a faith-based relationship, when you're both faith-based and believe and whatnot, you're still very much human. You're still very much human. So modern day, if I was to have a partner come to me and say, I'm pregnant, but God put it in me, what do you say to that? Because me, back in that day, I wasn't like hardcore, but I was casually faithful to the idea of the teachings I was brought up on. And even with that, I would have been like, okay, sure. What really happened? Did you make a mistake? Did you give in? Were you drunk? Were you raped? Whatever it may be. It's nuts. So I'm not, I probably would have been gone. To be honest. I mean, yeah, it takes a hell of a man to step up and say, I'll take the kid in as my own, even though it's not mine. Personally, right now in my life, especially back then, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And of course that could lead to discussions of abortion and whatnot. It's a woman's choice. It's a woman's right. That's my belief. If they believe that it'll cause health concerns for them and it could put their life at risk, it is what it is. Do what you need to do, basically. But anyway, there's that. I'm going to go ahead and hit the road. 1 minute. Where am I going here? Let's see. Going out here. So I may not be able to see chat a whole lot. So if there is any chats in the course of this, also I'm on T-Mobile data. As of right now, T-Mobile's having nationwide problems with signals, antennas and whatnot. But hopefully everything goes okay. But if it loses, thanks for watching the first 30 minutes of this vlog and getting into all this deeper stuff, because it's always amazed me, and especially my own journey through all this. I'm going this way. I am excited. I want to get home and play some Warcraft. I've been craving Warcraft. It is an addiction. I've been doing Warcraft longer than I've been doing the channel. But recently, in the Dragonflight build, I've been able to tank and off heal amazingly. It's amazing what I've been able to do, and the healing numbers that I've been able to put out. I've been able to out heal the healer, dedicated healers in the group, a lot, and it's all thanks to Word of Glory on Paladins. I'm going to change the title of this vlog when I get home to deeper stuff and random stuff, maybe. But I don't know. We'll see. Hold on 1 minute. Make sure I'm going the right way here. Yeah. All right. I'm on this road for the next, man, I don't know. Hold on. Make sure I got this charger on. All right. I'm on this road for the next, probably 50 miles. It's funny, I was talking with Lady Psylocke last night. Hello, good to see you. I'm driving, so chat may or may not be engaged. I was talking with Lady Psylocke last night. We were talking about Texas. And I was like, if I had the chance and the money, I would totally leave Texas. I'd be gone. I'm not a fan. The only reason I'm still here is because of family. I want to go someplace more up north. I would love Vermont, maybe, mostly because of a local celebrity up there, which was Bernie Sanders. I love the guy. He's very dedicated to his work. Got a great... Anyway, yeah, Vermont looks beautiful. It's up north. God, he's so great. He was such a fantastic addition to our lives, and Lord knows he suffered a lot, because it's just the saying. I mean, even non-believers use it, or they use exclamations like, "Oh my God," It's even used online for like OMG, It's crazy. But I've always found those little things in life that you may be an atheist, but you still use the term because God is. Skylar Lee Ferris. Oh, hey Skylar, good to see you. But yeah, so these terms are interchangeable, and you can use them pretty much, anywhere. By the way, thank you guys for the likes. Appreciate it. We had a couple of likes. I know we've had some lurkers this whole time. I'm on mobile data. Stuff will be going in and out, but I'm just hanging out until I get to Tyler, until I get to East Texas. Sharing thoughts, sharing random stuff like that. I was just in the mood for it. I might cut it more early. We'll see, but just having a good time and chilling out with it. I can't wait to get back to streaming. I've been gone this whole week. Of course, we did a Castlevania stream the other day, and it was really fun. I didn't have a mic, unfortunately. But I'll tell you what I was doing. I was I was using my PlayStation 4 Slim and connecting to my PlayStation 5, streaming to that, and then streaming from the PlayStation 5 to YouTube. So I didn't have a mic directly connected to the PS5, therefore I wouldn't have been able to talk on the actual stream. So it's pretty fun. I've done that before. It is complicated in some ways, but I've always loved figuring stuff like that out, figuring out loopholes about how I can have a goal and get it done. And I've been able to do that with PlayStation. Of course, you can do the same thing with Xbox. You can, well, I don't think you can stream. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. I don't know if you can stream from like an Xbox Series S or an Xbox One to an Xbox Series S, like console to console. I don't know that much about the Xbox consoles to be able to do that, but it's what I love about PlayStation. Of course, I'm a PlayStation fanboy. I still have the Xbox One the community bought me. Obviously, a big shout out to. Hold on. Traffic. And I totally forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah, the Xbox One S. Yeah, big shout out to the donations for that. You know who you are. I have thanked you numerous times. My brain is not fully engaged right now, y'all. Bear with me. It's funny, I always thought about becoming a trucker, I got some trucker friends here on the channel. They've been trucking for a while. Keep on trucking. But at one time I did think about becoming a trucker and driving long haul. But because I love driving, I love hitting the road, I love being out. Put me in front of something, and essentially it's game. It's not a game, but it is relevant to gaming because I've got something in front of me, and I've got controls. I can interact. That's where the very easy to please Kenny comes into play. I'd be like, that's why I love driving. It's learning the rules. It's learning, how to control different things, what to do, what not to do. Just like a game. Again, it's not a game, but it's like a game in that regard. Social cues, driving cues. Driving cues happen, when to turn, how to process a light, where to park, where not to park, how to park, whatnot, cues for learning and being social to drivers, thanking them, waving at them, honking at them, or if you're in Dallas, flipping them off, especially in New York. But It's one thing I had trouble with when I started driving was understanding what people were saying. And it's not just in driving. I mean, that's always something I've had trouble with, and that's why in the past and currently I'm fixing to go back into counseling and being looked at for understanding these cues. And I was actually talking about that with Lady Psylocke last night about I have a habit, well, not a habit, but it's a way of doing things to where I laugh and I make jokes, especially with girlfriend or my mother, for instance. I've been having headaches this whole week. I've been battling headaches and dizziness, ear ringing, and it was something was going on. I'm honestly not sure what it was. There was a lot of factors we talked about, but I'm doing better. But I joked with both her and my mother about it being a tumor. I was just like, it's probably a tumor. They were really worried. And even after 38 years of knowing my mother, and knowing my girlfriend for a certain amount of years, I kept joking about it. And I think it seemed to cause them a little bit of pain and worry, whenever I joked about it. And that's one thing I've always struggled with, is understanding why, because I know it's not a tumor. It's not that serious. So, they wouldn't laugh. Like they wouldn't laugh, and I didn't understand, why are you not laughing? I've put this out there, and usually there's a response for laughing, and I was doing it because I've learned that laughing eases tension and pain. So I'm doing this. So why the expected response is not happening? I don't understand. And that's something I always struggled with a lot, because of my mental makeup. And I didn't get it. And I'm still processing it, but it's just an understanding of that people love me and people don't want to see bad things happen to me. And when you joke about it, in the ways that I do, because I'm very humor based, I love to make people laugh. I get high off of making people laugh. I love to do it. Especially for family members and friends. But I still didn't understand. I'm trying to give you joy by doing this. I don't understand why you're not, and I still struggle with it. It's funny because even after the intro to this vlog and everything I went into, the deeper discussions and all that, I still have trouble with human social cues, even with the closest people in my life. So that is why it's been one of the things in my life that I've had trouble with. And yeah, I get the basis of it, but on a deeper level, I don't get it, and again, it's all about the response I don't get from what I put out there. And historically, whenever I have done this, people have laughed. People have found it pleasurable in that way. And therefore, I get feedback on that. I enjoy it. And you would think that because I'm putting it out there and I'm not getting what I enjoy back, then I would stop doing it. But it's ingrained within me. It's a learned response to, in any situation, no matter what it is, no matter how heavy, to joke, to provide humor, and to try to make the person happy again. Had trouble adapting to over the years is understanding why in certain social practices and situations, why it's not a good thing. Because to me, it's hard to explain, because it's been the only relatable thing that I've been able to do to make people happy in that situation. It's been the only thing that's penetrated the depth of sorrow or grieving or, you know. And so to me, there's a counter to that, because I see people sad, I see people upset, I see people worrying, I see people crying. And 99% of the time, my humor, whether it's been out of a pity laugh, because people know I'm trying to help them, I've gotten a laugh, and there's a smile on their face, you know. So I put it out there because it visibly has helped them, or it has, maybe even in a selfish way, it's helped me. It's helped me because I don't understand the situation. I find something that I do understand, and I put it out there and counter to what's happening. And again, I still have trouble figuring it out. Stuff like that isn't numerous. Like, I do understand most, but there are things I do have trouble understanding. So whatever my mental makeup is, and even to this day, and this is, I think this is a truth about any exploration you may do in your own personal life. Sometimes this stuff is lifelong. You can spend your whole life exploring yourself, giggity, and you can even die an old person and still not know certain things. So I'm constantly mentally analyzing myself. And another downfall I have is my face being representative of what I'm actually trying to say or what I'm feeling. There's a disconnect half the time, because my face betrays in ways what's not actually happening mentally. I look upset or I look mad, but I'm actually not. I look happy or I look glad when I'm actually not. I wish I had a better way of explaining it, but I do not. Anyway, it's just some of the struggles I've had, and I'm still, you know, luckily Lady Psylocke is just amazing for listening. We have a really good relationship in that manner because we're very open. We explain things, and it helps. It helps, and that's the key to any great relationship. One of the keys, not just the key, but one of the keys to a great relationship. A relationship is open discussion. I've even told her straight up, I've been like, I'm too open. I'm too open. There's nothing. A lot of women love to figure a guy out, but I'm literally an open book. I say everything. I tell everything. I share everything. And so it may take the mystery out of me. There was a lot of mystery, I think, when we first got started. And when you start a relationship, there is mystery. And, you know, over the years, it does dissipate. But that's one of my downfalls in a relationship, though, is that I'm just very honest and open. I tell every detail. I have to talk about it. You know, it's like an impulse. I have to share every little thing. And again, I think that's one of the factors in my mental makeup, that there's something there. I've been diagnosed bipolar, obviously. But in recent years, I've been questioning that. And that's why I've kind of backed off of the bipolar diagnosis for a bit, because it has been brought into question. And I'm looking at getting re-diagnosed or re-looked at for something else. Panic attacks have been happening, mostly related to work, some related to my personal life, certain situations and whatnot. So there's that. I've definitely dealt with anxiety and depression, understanding social cues, mood swings, withdrawing, brooding, processing. It takes me a while to process. I hold grudges and when I say grudges, I mean just, I can't be around the person. I can't do it because I'll become triggered again, you know. Um, and that's not really it. Depending on the degree of the way I'm wronged or the way I'm shunned or burned, it's not really the truth with loved ones or immediate people in my life. It's really more of people that are associates or, you know, that's really about it. I mean, friends I understand, and I'm upfront with them, but if somebody knows of me but doesn't entirely know me and then comes at me in a certain way, or judges me or dismisses me, tries to tell me who I am, I have a real problem with that. And I've been known to react, not in a very grown-up way, but kind of childish, about how, you know, who do you think you are, and all this and that. And it's not, I mean, I know there isn't a small grain of being normal in that reaction, but at the same time, it explodes, you know, it increases, it amplifies. And it could take me a month, easy. And that's in the best of conditions, to get over and to finally be around that person again. I had a recent happening where the person came at both me, and there was also a friend involved, that it was a situation involving 3 people, and it did not end well. I ended up leaving because I couldn't be there. I wanted to be there for that other person, but my fight or flight kicked in, and I couldn't be around it. There were 2 things happening. Number one was the personal thing I was just talking about, to where this person came at me and was judging me and saying all this stuff, and telling me that I couldn't do something that was very grown up. It was a very grown up thing, very normal thing in society, but that's not how it should be done, all this and that. And the other thing was too, is that I was getting flashbacks of my family member, abuse flashbacks. And it was too much. And I was also seeing this person that's in my life being hurt too, and it was too much. And that's not the first time that's happened either. I mean, when I was younger, Dad was drunk one time, and my dad was an alcoholic. I loved him, but he was an alcoholic. And he later in life, he got a lot better about it. But he had his nights to where he had been drinking, and I don't know if you ever tried arguing with a drunk, but I mean this with the most respect, but it's like trying to argue with a fanatically devout person in their beliefs. You're not going to be able to get past certain verbal degrees and limits. It's just going to be a recurring argument, the whole thing, I'm right, you're wrong, you got it. Anyway, there's no logic. It's not logical. It's not making any sense. You're not going to be able to make any progress. Anyway, Dad was not. Dad could get verbally rough when he had been drinking, and he had been known to say things, much like he wasn't exactly an angry drunk, but he had his moments. I'll just say that much. He was not a happy drunk. He could be, but when he got too drunk and shit-faced, shit would hit the fan. So there was one night when I was with a little brother, and I've always held this, and I've never really, I think I've shared this with a couple of people, but we'll do it here on the vlog. And I think it'll kind of help me as well. Kind of a selfish act, but just to, maybe it'll let some people know if they're not alone in it. I was with a little brother, and we saw what was happening. We knew what was happening. We knew what to expect. And the way I remember it, I stayed there throughout the night, but I couldn't be there the next day when Dad woke up because I didn't like the way things went down, and I think I'm justified in that. My little brother was fine; he was safe, but I always felt a pang of regret in that because I never gave Dad, or I never the next day didn't explain. I was like, Dad, you hurt me, you know, you hurt me big time with some things you said. I know it wasn't you. I know you were drunk. I know that your inhibitions were out the window. You didn't have mental blocks up to help you not say anything, or, you know, to keep those things inside. And before Dad died, I never got a chance to bring it up. That was not the only example. There were other things that happened that we discussed, him and I. So thankfully, it's a small regret, and it wasn't a part of a bigger picture regret. But I don't know what. It was just one of those things that it sat with me. But I had to get out. I couldn't be around him. I couldn't do it. Thankfully, I was at the age I had a car. I was just there for the weekend. And I ended up leaving early without saying anything. I remember just calling him later that day, and I was like, listen, I had to leave. And I just, you know, had to get out. So for a long time, I didn't really deal with it. Ooh, there's some shakeage. For the longest time, I didn't really deal with it. You know, I didn't face it. And when you do that in life, it's not easy. Yeah, camera's shaking. Also, you might have noticed this whole vlog, I've been licking my lips. My lips are really dry. Lady Psylocke usually with me, and usually she has some lip balm, but I don't have any, unfortunately. So, you know, it's part of life, I guess. When you go through something like that, you're gonna have regrets. One of my deeper regrets, and I actually live close, and this is a story that I think I've shared before, but there was a girl named Brandy Batchelder when I went to school in Dallas. She's technically the first girl I ever said I love you to, but it wasn't actual love. It was just the puppy dog stuff back in the day when you're younger. You said it out of habit, you know, because you thought that's what it was. Well, Brandy had an impairment. I think she was born with it. I never really understood it. I think she told me at one time what it was. Anyway, we went out for a few weeks. Technically, you know, we were together, and she agreed to be my girlfriend through notes and whatnot. And I ended up, I mean, again, I was a kid, but I was smart enough to realize what I was doing, but I didn't stop myself, you know. And this stuff has always sat with me. Stuff like this always sits with me. But anyway, you know, she was really cool. She had been born with an impairment, like I said. She had, like, her arm was up here, and her right leg didn't sit right. Like, it was physically impaired, and it was tough for her to walk. She did walk, but it was tough for her to get around in a quick way. Anyway, we went out for a few weeks. I ended up breaking up with her.
There's a speed trap ahead.
Really? Okay. I ended up breaking up with her by telling her that my grandfather had died. When he didn't actually die. You know, I told a lie because I didn't want to go out with her anymore, but I didn't know how to face it. I was young. I didn't know how to say, hey, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. So, what's the speed limit here? See, this is the problem with some of the East Texas roads, right? They don't post speed signs or speed limit signs for, like, 5 or 6 miles. And so if you didn't notice it the first time, you have no idea what you're doing. I suspect that is a trap, because you're not going to know what the speed is, so you're just going to assume. And I think it's due to local law. It may be state law. There may be minimal state law requirements for the distance between speed limit signs. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. But anyway. So anyway, I broke up with Brandy. And come to find out, I had talked to a buddy of mine, Ricky. He was the first person I had ever met with psoriasis, full body psoriasis. Great guy. I loved hanging out with him. Him and I used to play a lot of Nintendo together. Anyway, I think I told him about it. I don't remember how I related the information to him, but he ended up telling Brandy. And, you know, and rightfully so. I mean, I think they were both a little bit older than me, so. But the way I remember it, he told Brandy. Brandy found out and started crying. She was, I think he told me at lunch that it came up, or that she found out or something. Anyway, later that day in class, she was crying, and I couldn't talk to her. Like, I tried approaching her to see why she's crying, and she just turned away and didn't engage me at all. And that was the last time I ever interacted with her. I ended up moving about a week later, because, you know, I was the kid of a single mother holding down multiple jobs. So we moved a good bit, which can cause security issues, by the way, in the long run. But, you know, I made it through it. So anyway, making it through it. But anyway, the reason this is a regret is because Brandy actually passed at 14 or 15 years old. She died of complications of the heart. Or she had a stroke, something like that. And she always stuck with me. The name Brandy Batchelder always stuck with me. Because, you know, mostly because of that moment, because of the way I wronged her. So, some years later, I did some research and I found her obituary. I found a picture of her. And it was Brandy. I just put in her name, searched the first few pages of Yahoo back in the day, and her obituary came up. Because I thought about her and I was like, damn. So the memory was already there. And then later in years, I saw the obituary, and that just stamped down the status of regret. I had already regretted it, but this was a deeper stamp, you know, more marked. So I had always made a plan to go visit her gravesite, and you know, apologize to it. I mean, we were kids. I was stupid, but it still always sat with me nearly 25 years later. And I think I'm a better man for that, because, you know, I know I wronged somebody. And when I do, it's funny, because when I do wrong somebody, it sits with me. It's so hard to let go. But I'm also human, and I've got to, you know, I've got to do what I've got to do to help myself in certain regards. Breakups and whatnot, which is never easy. Thankfully, my relationship now, I love it. I love her. We're having to deal with a long distance relationship, and it's not easy. But she's so understanding, so awesome, intelligent, caring. Working with her on certain things, you know, she's working with me on certain things. And that's a relationship. That's the give and take. You know, you help each other. But anyway, so getting back to Brandy, her gravesite is actually located in Dallas. It was originally moved from, I think she was buried, because I reached out to, or I tried to reach out to family members a while ago, but via the obituary, she had originally been buried up in the panhandle of Texas. Well, apparently her grave was relocated down to Dallas. And I'm only half an hour away. So when I was working for my last employer, it was over in Grapevine. That's all I'll say. I won't say who it was. But the gravesite was about 20 minutes away, and at the time I was working the overnight. And I thought, you know, after I get off shift, I'll just go visit it. Well, I went to go visit it, but the actual graveyard was closed. Like, it didn't have visitors till 8 o'clock. I got off at 5, and I just wanted to get home and get to sleep. So I just went home and got some sleep. I haven't been back yet, but I plan on going back before I move later this year, because I'm actually going to be relocating to East Texas for more affordable rent, and thankfully my job, I can go mobile, you know, and relocate as I need to. It's a great job, but one of my New Year intentions, I don't really make resolutions, but intentions is to visit Brandy, to give my apology, mourn a little bit. That way I can move on with that part of my life. Because being who I am and being the kind of person I am, it's hard to move on when there's not something to act as a conduit for peace in some ways, you know. That may sound weird. It may even sound kind of dumb, because a lot of people would argue, well, just move on, just let it go. I can't. And it's not for lack of trying. I mean, I've tried numerous times to move on from certain things, but letting go for me in that regards, when I wrong somebody or when I've been wronged, my mental makeup just doesn't allow it. I have these recurring thoughts and intrusive thoughts and it builds and it builds and it snowballs, and I start to overanalyze, I start to overthink. And that's really where my suicidal tendencies came into play, you know. Because two major things happened there. I lost what I had been working towards, and I had lost what I had founded my life on. Or a big chunk of it anyway. I was in upheaval, you know, and all of that snowballed and built and built. And I couldn't bear the pain anymore, you know. I couldn't do it. It was just darkness. I was in that room again. I was being hunted by that monster again. And I was just trying to survive. And when you're in a situation like that, the only way you can really survive, the only way to really get out of it, is to get out of it, you know. And that's what it felt like. I mean, that's, for me, it's funny because suicide attempts, well, it's not funny, but it's weird because a lot of people in suicide attempts, there's a mentality about it. They feel trapped. That's the general gist of it, but the details vary. For me, I was in a dark room being hunted by a monster. I couldn't see, couldn't hear, couldn't smell, and that monster was my own mind. It turned on itself. I mean, how do you explain human mentality in that way? Like, you're your own greatest enemy. How do you cope with the fact that you tried to kill yourself, but you also saved yourself? You know? Now, with that said, obviously family and my partner at the time helped. But I dug myself out of it by getting help, by getting outside help. But it took me recognizing that outside help and realizing that there was something wrong inward to rebuild that. Because obviously the foundation that I had coming up was a false foundation in a lot of regards. So it was up to me, up to myself, to rebuild that, to fix the damage that I was trying to do to myself based on damage that other people had done to me. You know, it's nuts. But it's just further oh, by the way, the chat just popped up. I'm sorry, I didn't see who that was driving, and it's hard to engage in chat, but anyway, hello. It's just further testament that the human psyche, our human mentality, is so awesome, but so inverse, especially if you deal with mental difficulties. It's hard to get to know yourself, and that's where there's a term for it. It's called forecasting. You know, you try to anticipate the situations you're going to be in. You avoid certain situations that you know will spin out of control. It's just like I was talking about earlier about grudges and being wrong. If I'm going to be around a person like that again, I've got to anticipate it. I've got to plan for it. Spontaneity in that regard can be explosive if done wrong. It sucks because socially you don't know how to deal with it. You know, you don't know how you're going to react. You don't know where you're going to be, how it's going to go down. And it's very tiring. It is very, very tiring to have to live in this regard, to have to live this way, because I did a vlog a while back talking about living with somebody that's bipolar, and it's funny because people think that you withdraw because you don't want to deal with them. It's really not that. You withdraw because, especially like in my regard, you don't want to hurt people. Because things can be said that can really hurt and dig deep to people that are, especially to people that are important to other people in your life. You don't want to hurt them. You don't want to be the source of that. You don't want to, but you also don't want to hurt. And to me, causing hurt is hurt because it's at a reflex. You know, it sucks. And it's misunderstood, you know, it's misunderstood and it's misconceived as just get over it, deal with it. But I mean, when you're in my state and you're taking medication just to help avoid panic attacks and remain balanced, it's not just get over it. You know, you got to know the story. You can't understand the character unless you know the story. I've always kind of lived by that, you know. That's why I'm always asking people questions about who they are and where they come from, this and that. I'm always trying to, you know. It's something to remember. You can't understand the character unless you understand their story, you know. To assume, to judge, just because they don't live by your standards, is so arrogant and ignorant. And that's one major problem I had with going to church and being in a relationship to a religion. It's just, you're automatically judged because you step out of that cult mentality, you know. And I know cult's a bit of a strong word, but it is what it is. I mean, it's a group of people that have very, very profound and strong beliefs, and if you exit that tribe, you know, you're dismissed or exiled, or they want you to keep coming back. You know, they keep trying to persuade you, come back into the fold. We know you're just going through a phase. You know, you're a prodigal son. It's not, you know. And it's like I was saying earlier, I even had some family members that came at me that way, and that was not the truth of their reality. And they had trouble accepting that because they thought that I couldn't be who I am without being what they believe. And that's not the reality. I am who I am because I am, you know. And in some ways it was causing me hurt, having to let them know that, look, I'm not that person. I hate to keep disappointing you. I mean, I hate to see that look of defeat in your face when I don't, you know, adhere to what you're trying to give me. But, you know, I love you. I mean, I really do, and you'll always be my family. But that's just not who I am. I don't find happiness in that. In fact, if anything, due to my past, I find hurt. You know, I find, but even that's just based on events in my life. Other than that, there's really no depth for me there. There's nothing. I mean, I love the stories, I love the teachings, I love what they can do for people, but anything deeper than that, it's just not there for me, you know. It's not relatable, aside from the stories and the human characters involved. And it's really funny that, you know, throughout my childhood, that was tried to teach me, that was tried to ingrain, and it was the moral implications and consequences of not living a certain way of life. It was there. Those teachings helped, but again, you don't need that to become a good person. What I have come to relate to, and again, I mentioned this earlier, is knowing that we're all a part of something bigger. We're a part of the planet. The planet's a part of the solar system. The solar system's a part of the universe. The universe is a part of a bigger thing, so on and so forth. Down to the smallest atom, a combination of molecules that created who we are. Over time, it can be reproduced. It can be proven. I don't have to take it on faith or belief because it's there. It's right in front of our eyes every day. And I find solace in the fact that we are the universe exploring itself, that humanity is developing, we're evolving. And throughout that, there's going to be trial and error. Getting back to the basis of this video, I'm starting to come to the conclusion that religion is outdated. I think it helped people in the long run, but unfortunately, it also became a great evil on humanity, because there's been a lot of atrocities done in religion's name, perceived gods and whatnot, and it gave man arrogance. It gave them an overly developed sense of purpose, a sense of godhood even, which is really funny because people in the past have used a god's will or plan, as they saw it, to create countries, create kingdoms, to give them drive and purpose. But at the end of the day, again, arrogance. Nowadays, yeah, it is cause to start wars, but it's also a way to make money. And because people are doing that, because you have mega churches that take tithing, but don't have to pay any taxes in the government, it's put a really bad name on religion, and it's causing religion to fade out. They're not doing themselves any good. It's become very greedy, very misconceived, very misconstrued, and very misled. I don't deny that there's definitely some good to religion. I mean, it does give people purpose and strength, but at the same time, the monuments that are built to it, the people that become rich off of it, but yet don't give back to the people of the same land that help them get that money. It's crazy, man. It's just nuts. But anyway, I digress. This has been a hell of a chat. We've been going for about an hour and a half. It's been a really cool mobile vlog. Hopefully the data's held out pretty good. I had a disconnect earlier, but I felt very open and very confident in talking about this stuff, which is becoming more and more the norm for me, thankfully. Because for the longest time, I struggled with it. I mean, I struggled big time. Trying to get it out there, trying to, make people aware of who I am in that regard. And being agnostic is not, it's not easy, because you're kind of in between being an atheist and being, a deist or a believer. And a lot of people dismiss being agnostic as like not being totally atheist. You just can't decide. I mean, that's kind of the truth, I guess, in some regard, but I do believe that God exists for the people that believe in him. He gives them the idea of him, gives them purpose, gives them strength, gives them character. But I believe it's a bit misplaced, because they can find that within themselves. For some people, they can't, and they have to have something to rely on. And I totally get that. I mean, it helps them from their day to day, and I totally agree with that. As long as they find happiness in it, I think that's what really matters. For me, though, it was a misplaced and unfortunately a failed attempt at trying to find it in that. But I found it within myself. I find it within the people I engage with and the people that I love. And for me, that's enough. I don't need anything higher than that. But again, I do find peace for the most part in the fact that we are a part of something greater. We're a part of humanity. Humanity is a part of the earth. The earth is, so on and so forth. So anyway, I am getting closer to my destination. If you have made it this far in the vlog, or if you've been lurking, thank y'all. A big shout out to the likes. Thanks to everybody that popped in to say hi. I hope you guys are enjoying the channel. Hopefully you're having a good day. Stay safe, stay sane. We'll be back to streaming soon. I can't wait to get back into Warcraft, but I'm fixing to have a day with my girlfriend, future fiance. And we're going to hopefully have a great time. So remember, you're awesome. Never let the world tell you otherwise. I'll see y'all later. Peace. I know.